Everybody, we're live with Emerson Willis from Limitless, senior producer with them, with the ones who made the movie Think and Grow Rich. How you doing today, Emerson?
I am doing fabulous. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
Awesome to have you, dude. What are we diving
Yeah.
into today?
Hey, well, I'm just curious. I'm excited to be, getting on board with you here at Platinum Mindset TV. I'll tell you a little bit about us. So we're Limitless. You can see on my hoodie here. This is our brand. We're the creators of Think and Grow Rich, the movie. Many of you are familiar with the book. Sold a couple 100 million copies. So we created this production that really brings it to life. But I think today we also worked with some really top thought leaders in the movie, people like Bob Proctor, Grant Cardone, Lewis Howes, and so many others. But one of the individuals I want to chat about with you today, Michael, is Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor. And we did a series with Bob Proctor where we filmed, he's in our movie, but we filmed something called Living the Legacy. And it's more of like a cinematic grade experience. And in Living the Legacy, we filmed Bob Proctor for 2 days. It was like 14 hours of filming, and we extracted about 6 hours of material out of him. He studied Think and Grow Rich, the book, for 60 plus years of his life, every single day, taught on it worldwide. But so I think that I shared with you, Michael, a little intro to that whole series. It's 6 hours of stuff. But I think today, if you're up for it, we can talk a little bit about that material and just kind of like make it accessible to people and just have a conversation around the actual topic, if you're up for it.
Yeah, definitely, dude. Because I mean, the little bit I watched so far, it's pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
I went to Walgreens to get some eye drops, and it was like I had my phone in my truck the whole time.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff. One of the things, there's this thing, the question that I think a lot of people can maybe relate to before we dive into this is like, this would be to anybody listening, like, have you ever felt like you were meant for more, but you just weren't really sure how to get there? Like you have this feeling like, you're like, man, I know I'm supposed to do more. How do I
I think
get
we all
there?
had that. I think we all had that. Huh?
Yeah, man. So I was thinking what we could do is I shared some notes with you too, but maybe talk a little bit about some of the talking points from the actual material. So when people do decide to, go and check out Living the Legacy, we're going to be doing a Living the Legacy weekly call with Limitless, actually, where we bring in top thought leaders every week. And we're going to interview them around this material. So I think we've never done this before. So your and I call is actually really interesting. So we're going to just dive into some key concepts around that material, and we can just, you and I can hash out and kind of expand on this stuff and just have an organic conversation. One of the quotes from Bob Proctor in the material, and this one took me a minute to wrap my head around, but he says there's an intelligence that permeates every atom of matter and embraces every unit of energy perceptible. This infinite intelligence converts acorns into oak trees, causes water to flow downhill in response to the law of gravity, follows night with day and winter with summer. That's a mouthful. But
Yeah.
like I think what Bob was talking about is this thing that's talked about in Think Go Rich. It's this infinite intelligence. And I think what he's saying is, like right here on the talking points, infinite intelligence, it's a universal force that like just governs all life, right? Um, and it's the same intelligence that makes basically like nature work in perfect order, the tides, the seasons, however how our bodies heal. um, we can tap into this intelligence by aligning our thoughts with it. And so Bob talks a lot about infinite intelligence, and so does Think and Go Rich. um,
One thing I heard, not to interrupt you, but one thing I remember when he said from the little bit I watched was like, everything's for a reason. You're here for a reason. You're here for everything is in a line for a reason.
Absolutely. I agree. Everything happens for a reason. And you could kind of think of this infinite intelligence thing kind of like, it's kind of like tuning into a radio station, but you got to be on the right frequency, right, to hear the music clearly. Just like your thoughts need to be tuned in to success to attract it.
I was just listening to somebody that said he's a hypnotist or something, but he would say like he was doing these recordings where he would say something, but the people said, all I hear is distortion. I don't hear it. But then other
Mm,
people would hear it. And they found out that the people that didn't hear it, they had something that was actually blocking them that they haven't gotten over in their life. And once they figured it out, boom, they could hear it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting how that is. It's your thoughts are really, I also heard Bob say, if you want to tune into success, it's kind of like being on an AM channel, but you're wanting to get an FM channel. You're never going to pick up an FM frequency on an AM channel.
Yeah.
And that can be really similar to being like in a really negative mindset or real negative place, and you're wanting to attract success. You're just not on the right frequency. You got to get on the right channel and tune into it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember people tell me, they're like, "Oh, I can't do that. I'm not like that." I'm like, "You can. You just gotta tweak it, rewire it."
It's so true. Let me ask you this, Mike. Have you ever had one of these moments where you just felt like guided, like something bigger than you was helping everything fall into place?
Oh, 100%. Yes.
I know it's I think that's this thing where you're like, what's going on here? And it's like, I really feel like anybody listening, like I think you could say, if everything operates in a perfect order, what would happen if you or we aligned our thoughts with infinite intelligence instead of limiting beliefs? Kind of like the AM versus the FM channel, right?
Yeah.
What would happen if we aligned our thoughts, keyword thoughts, with that? What would change? And that's what Bob, when you start to go into this material, you're going to see that he really is projecting to us that our thoughts are critical. That's like our thing that tunes us into the right frequency, if you will, the right radio station.
I tell people, I was like, your mind only knows what you teach it, and you tell it. You don't tell it. Your mind doesn't know anything, unless it comes from you. Plain and simple.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. Another thing too, I'll go a little further into this, and we can hash on this too, but Bob talks in the book, talks a lot about decision making and faith. Like when you make a decision in faith, you're like, I'm going to do this. Napoleon Hill, he wrote a whole entire chapter on decision. He said, successful people make decisions quickly and change them slowly, if and when they change them at all. And unsuccessful people have this tendency to make decisions really slowly, and they change them quickly and often.
Second guess themselves.
Right? What?
They second guess themselves.
Yeah, it's very interesting because like Napoleon Hill, when you read deeper into the material, he interviewed over 500 of like the most successful people over the course of like 25 years. And he found that was something they all had in common, their ability to make a decision. And when they made those decisions, they made it quickly, but they also were slower to change. But you're right. You just said a lot of people that are unsuccessful, that struggle a lot in life, they're very slow with their decision making, right? And then they're all over the place. They're like a pinball. They just second guess themselves. They're all over the place. They can never commit to something, and they just, it really has a big impact.
Confidence.
Yeah, and that's the faith part, right? I know every major success story starts with a committed decision, right? And decision making, it's not just about knowing how, it's about deciding like what, and trusting the way that it'll reveal itself. It's wild. Napoleon Hill, he was actually Andrew Carnegie, who was one of the wealthiest people at the time. He's a steel magnate. He actually gave him 60 seconds to decide he gave Napoleon Hill 60 seconds to decide if he would dedicate his life to success principles without any financial support for years. He said, will you do this for 25 years? I'm not going to pay you anything. And Napoleon Hill had 60 seconds, and he said yes.
Carnegie almost didn't Carnegie, like they tried to charge him with like Monopoly or something because he had so much money.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, I don't know the story behind that. I know that, I mean, he basically was handling all of the steel production in the whole entire country. I mean, it's
the railroads, everything. It was like JP Morgan.
I know. And it's interesting because, yeah, I mean, He came here, he was actually poor when he came here, he was in complete poverty. Andrew Carnegie, he immigrated here. He was
Yeah,
completely poor. Um, it's funny and when you're watching Living the Legacy, Bob Proctor, he wrote I think it's important to write down sometimes, your actual decision you're making,
I
and
write
Bob
down everything, dude.
yeah. He wrote down that he was gonna build a company that operates worldwide before he even had a clue how he was gonna do it. He just knew that he was gonna do it, you know?
Mhm.
Um, this is a tough question. I think about it like anybody listening or even you, Michael, like, this I don't know what your answer is, but what's the biggest decision you've ever made in your life that made a big impact, that changed things for you?
Changing my career, like going from doing what I did for a living to this, to changing the
Mhm.
coaching and speaking and stuff like that.
Oh,
And I
really?
mean,
So
I did it back and forth a little bit here and there, but I'm like, you know what? This is bullshit. Either I go do it, either I want to jump in full force, or I need to just not do it. So I was like, you know what?
I gotta
I
do it.
feel like I just have to do this. If I don't, then I got to do it.
Absolutely. Well, and that's the thing I would ask the audience or anybody listening is like, and this, I look at myself in the mirror, but it's like, what decision have you been hesitating on that you need to make today? Like, and that goes to anybody listening, goes to ourselves, but like, is there a
Mhm.
decision? And again, keyword decision. So that's an open question there. That,
See, but see, like, when it comes like that, I feel like that. Like I feel that if you're second guessing it so much, then that should tell you, hold up, you might want to step back because if you're not just saying, you know what, I need to do this and to go do it. The
hmm
more you second guess yourself, the more you're gonna fail at it. It's not gonna work out because you're second guessing yourself before you're failing before you even get to it. So
hmm
either you go for it or don't.
absolutely. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with that 100%. And another topic he's talking about, and this is just in the introduction, so this is like the first 45 minutes of the series, but he dives into, desire and belief, and then there's the subconscious mind, and Bob Proctor said this quote, and I remember the first time I heard him say it, I was, like, so pumped up, I was like he basically says, "You've already got everything you need inside," and he says, "Your spiritual DNA is perfect. If you strip away the limiting beliefs, you can create the life you want. You literally have everything you need, but it's the limiting beliefs that have you messed up."
100%. It's like when I was talking to somebody yesterday about depression,
Mhm,
or the study shows that those people wake up talking about problems, thinking about problems. It's all they
mhm,
talk about.
mhm,
So if you wake up in the morning talking about problems, just like you said, just with your limited beliefs and what you're telling yourself, you wake up in the day, you're already starting your day with problems.
mhm.
Your day's gonna be full of problems. If you have a problem, leave it there and bring a solution with you. Don't bring the problem with you.
That's true. Yeah, you have, like I think a lot of people don't believe that they have everything they need, but that's a limiting belief in and of itself, so when you
Mhm.
realize that you're created in this way to be able to perform, it's a big deal, and it's funny, Bob talks about this, he says, "Our subconscious mind literally controls 95% of our daily actions, our habits, what we do. It runs on programming from our past experiences."
Mhm.
So
I agree with that 100%.
yeah, and it's interesting because, like, what are our past experiences? Maybe it's the environment we grew up. How were we raised? Were we bullied? Like, what do we believe in our programming? And that's actually driving the boat for our actions.
Mhm. I mean, and it's crazy because just like I had a horrible temper. I think all of
Mhm.
us have. But it's kind of point you get to the point where you're like, when you step away from certain people, and then you're like, damn. Even though I'm in charge of my own actions, but it's like, damn, man, I don't have a temper anymore. Holy
Yeah,
crap! If I would have just
yeah,
stepped away from him a long time ago, it's like they're your family, so he's like, you don't really want to step away from him, but it's like, you know what? If that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do to make yourself better, then that's what you have to do.
man. Well, it sounds like that also comes from awareness. So once you become aware of what's happening in your thoughts, you're actually
Mhm.
realizing what you're attracting. And, yeah, it's wild. I think a lot of people in the world, they're just really not aware of it. They just are who they are, and they just do what they do. They're almost just kinda drifting, if you will, through life. Just it is what it is,
Comfortable,
right?
comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, if I go do that, if I change anything, it's gonna be uncomfortable. And I just like when people stay in relationships, they stay where they are because they don't want to break up, because then they got to start all over. Like, it'll get better. No, it's not. It's not gonna get better.
Yeah. You know, and I was thinking about it too. Another thing I was thinking about, a lot of people think, well, you know, the kind of school I went to or whatever background I have, but we're not limited actually based on all of this history and experience. We're not limited by our education, our background, or our past failures. That is not our limitation, but a lot of us think it is.
Yes. Look, I'm telling you, that's why I say if there's like, I said, all right, so I call it moments. So if you have 24 hours a day, you have 24 moments. So if you're pissed off, let's say you're pissed off at Sammy at 10 o'clock. Well, by 11, let it go.
Yeah.
Because you hear so many people, oh, my day is ruined now. Why? You gonna let him, why do you gonna let that one person ruin your whole day? No, you
Yeah.
can be pissed off 1 hour. After that, suck it up, move on.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. You know, you're right. An example like Napoleon Hill, he was told to affirm every day. Actually, in this thing, Andrew Carnegie, he says, I am not only going to equal your achievements, I'm going to surpass you. Andrew Carnegie was incredibly successful at mentoring, but he actually said, Napoleon Hill, I'm going to teach you everything I know. I'm going to mentor you, but you're going to actually pass up my achievements. And he forced him to accept that and affirm it. And he might have thought it was ridiculous when he started like saying it. Have you ever like done like an affirmation or wanted to believe something that seems so far-fetched, and when you say it, you're like, that sounds almost ridiculous, like it's not even possible?
Yeah.
But through repetition, your subconscious mind starts to pick that up, and it'll actually start to take actions and build habits around what that actually is. And then you're going to start tuning in to that FM channel, if you will, where what you want to actually exists. It's
That's
wild.
when I say like manifest is like, it's so stupid. And I said, no, you see, people think that manifesting money is just going to fall into your hands. No, it's not like that. You're training your mind, you're training your subconscious to think only that way. And basically it's going to take you to that way where the money is, where there's opportunities to make that money. It's not just going to fall out of the sky. No, you're not. Get out of here.
Yeah, no, but it's that repetition, you know, like it's a repetition. It's the belief programs. It's that subconscious mind. You're creating the program in your mind. And at first it might feel a little weird because your old program is still trying to run. It's like, no, 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 that's not possible. I can't have $1 million. Well, Henry Ford, he said it, and it's quoted in Think and Go Rich. He said, if you believe you can, or if you think you can, or you think you can't, you're right either way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Because
Yeah.
if you think you can, you never will.
Right. And I think, you know, the only thing really stopping us from wealth or happiness or health, or it's just the belief that we can't have it. That's the thing that's stopping anybody from getting it.
The only thing stopping you from getting is the thing in the mirror.
That's right. In your thoughts. It's the thought that you can't have it, you know?
Yep.
You know, how about this? I got a question for you. What's a belief that you once had about success that you had to change to get where you're at now? Is that a tough one?
Say that again.
Did you what's a belief that you once held about success that you actually changed that allowed you to get somewhere that you are now? Like maybe you know, a belief that about yourself or something.
I don't know how to even answer that, because I don't know if I've ever thought about anything that I wouldn't be able to do if I didn't do it, if I didn't try to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, and again, the question's also for the audience too, because like, you know, have you had, even when you were young, like, oh, I could never do that, and then all of a sudden,
Oh yeah, okay, well yeah.
yeah, like you experienced the transition of going from believing you can and not to believing you can, and then all of a sudden you're on the other side going, man, I thought that was going to be so hard. Like my daughter right now, she's in gymnastics, and she looks at the girls that are so much further ahead of her, and like I could imagine her going, man, that looks almost impossible. But then your mindset you do one thing, you go, well, maybe it is possible. And next thing you know, you're doing what you thought was once impossible.
Yep. I mean,
You know?
the biggest example I use of people, I say, you know, what does everybody do when say you cough? What is the first thing people think if they start coughing?
Yep.
You're
Yep.
getting sick.
I
Well, guess
know.
what's going to happen next? Your ass is getting sick.
Yeah, that's
Like you
so
just
true.
cough. It's like, no, I just coughed. That's it. I'm good.
Yeah, that's so true. It's well, and another challenge I'd have for the audience is just a question like, what belief are you holding on to that's keeping you stuck right now? Like, what happens when you replace that thought or that belief with a new belief that you can? Things are
Hmm.
going to start shifting, right? You
A word they
know?
can get rid of is the word trying. Stop using the word trying. If you
Hmm.
can do it, because like somebody, oh, I'm trying to quit smoking. No, you're not. You're just not ready to quit smoking. Stop. Be honest with yourself, really.
Yeah, what did Yoda say? There is no try, there's only do.
Yeah, exactly. Trying is just an excuse to say I'm not. I don't feel like doing it. I don't feel like going to the best of my ability.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. Another quote I'm thinking of from the actual Living the Legacy with Bob Proctor. And he said, this is really interesting because this is all about paradigm shifts. I don't know if you're familiar with like paradigm shifts and the law of polarity, but he said the cause of fear is actually ignorance. And fear comes from not understanding the law of polarity, which states that everything has an opposite. So if there is fear, there also must be faith. It's interesting. There's always an opposite of everything. So, like, a paradigm is a mental program that controls our habits, our beliefs, our results. So, everybody's got a paradigm. Everyone's got one.
Yeah.
Most people are operating from paradigms of scarcity, fear, or like self doubt. And often those are like actually inherited from parents, their parents or their society. They're operating on this paradigm, but the law of polarity actually says if a negative exists, fear, doubt, failure, whatever, there's also an opposite exactly of that. A positive must also
Hmm.
exist. So that'd be faith, confidence, success. So a paradigm shift is when you switch from the negative to the positive.
Yeah.
So like let's say for example, I'm sure people listening to this could I mean, I've been there before. I don't know if you have, Michael. I imagine most successful people get here at some point in time in a financial rut. Let's say you're stuck in a financial rut, your bills are killing you, you're not bringing enough not money in. But that also means the opposite is possible, that there could be abundance available.
Hmm.
You just have to shift to the frequency of abundance because we're tuned into poverty at that moment. We're like,
Yeah.
there's bills, I don't have money. So if you want to get onto the law of polarity and switch to the abundant side of it, you just got to change the thinking.
I think the biggest thing is that today is like the outside world, the peanut gallery that's around everybody. That people are
Mm,
listening to all this craziness. You see
mhm,
on the news. You see, oh, blah, blah. Stop. That's what's. It's almost like it's all these subliminal messages and all this mind control that they're almost trying to do because people are listening to it though. It's getting their mind so messed up on this negativity. It's hard for them to
mm.
bring positive in.
Yeah. It's true. Well, in order to change these like paradigms, whatever you want to call them, that Bob calls them paradigms, it requires awareness. If you're not aware, you're not going to change something you're not
Mhm.
aware of. It requires like new habits of thinking. And I mean, I know I've had to have because I've been building businesses and doing things where it almost seemed like imminent failure was going to be the idea, but I knew
Mhm.
that that was not acceptable. I had to change my thinking and go, we're going to figure out a way.
Yeah.
You have to like when I don't know if you've ever had a moment where you had to completely shift your thinking to break through a personal or like a business plateau. You're just going, "Man, I don't like the, circumstances I'm seeing here. I have to
Yeah.
change thinking, otherwise I'm gonna be in big trouble."
All the time.
You know, so I guess you could ask people too, like, what's an area you've been focused on the negative? Like, if you actually take inventory of your thoughts, can you find any areas where you're actually focused on the negative? Then you just have to literally think about the law of polarity. What's the opposite of what I'm thinking about right now? How can I flip
Hmm.
the positive polarity instead. So, that's stuff that Bob talks about. Bob studied this stuff his entire life. When you hear this guy talk about it, man, he really gets it. He really does.
Plus, the way he talks, it just pulls you into it.
Man, if you I mean, you gotta think about it like this guy studied I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, I read Think and Grow Rich, the book." He studied it every single day of his life, and he didn't just study it, he taught on it. And he felt like there was still more to uncover even after a lifetime of study, you know? It's very interesting. Um, and he said, this is one of the things that really got me intrigued with the book. Speaking of studying his entire life, Napoleon Hill said there's a secret in his book. If you can find it, you can have anything you seriously want. And that was a quote from Bob Proctor. But the thing is people would ask Bob Proctor what the secret was. And he never told the secret. He never told people the secret. He says Bob Proctor believed that if he simply told people the secret, they wouldn't actually internalize it or go find it, you know. And Napoleon Hill purposely left it hidden in the book because the real power actually comes from the search. You know, it's kind of like when you're looking for the secret, you're training your mind and recognizing success principles in action. So, you know, Hill's challenge the readers was similar to Andrew Carnegie's. He challenged him to commit to studying the material deeply, and you'll discover, I think that's where the real secret is. It's through the actual journey. It's not like here's a cheat code, up, up, down, left, right. It's all over. I got it figured out. Like you said, it's almost like when someone does an affirmation. Hey, I want to attract $1 million. Where's my $1,000,000? I said it, Michael. You told me to say it. Where did it come? It's not coming. It doesn't work.
Exactly. Like I tell people, I'm like, you know, and I've never known this. I've learned it over time that, you know, how they say, you know, if you have a goal in mind, draw a roadmap. But you don't want to draw a roadmap to get there, because if you draw a particular way to get to that goal, your mind is only, if another way to get to that goal comes, your mind ain't going to go that way, because like, oh no, we got to go this way that you've already drawn a roadmap to. So you have a goal, set a goal, yeah, but don't draw a specific roadmap to get there, because then you might miss a spot. You might miss a different way to get there.
Yeah, that's kind of like what Bob says. You know that you're going to make a decision to do something. You don't necessarily know everything about the path. You just know I'm going to go to the top of that mountain. However the heck I'm going to get there, we'll figure it out on the way there.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it is good to have plans and stuff like that. But I loved his form of teaching because he really forced people to want to dive deeper into the material and dive deeper into it. Because he would always ask, do you know what the secret is? And he'd never answer it. He would just say, if I tell you, you're not going to look for it. And if you don't look for it, you're not going to get what you need from it anyways. So why would I tell you? It's very interesting. I feel like personal discovery, like I don't know about your journey, but personal discovery is really what leads towards like transformation. So when we actively like search for something, we actually absorb the lesson on a deeper level. I think a lot of people think the lesson's one thing, but when you actually study, they actually realize it applies to everything. And the process of searching just leads to, you know, personal breakthroughs. If you just get the answer handed to you, you're not going to really feel it, own it, or use it. It's kind of like if you had a smart friend and he gave you all the answers to the test. Well, great, you passed the test, but it's going to be no good for you on the other side.
Well, it's just like today. I mean, just like today, like, okay, so how old are you?
Oh, I'm 42.
Okay, so we're the same age. So, you know, nowadays, like when we were younger, we had to actually go look up stuff in encyclopedias and all that, go in the library. Now it's just like, it is everything in this Google. I'm like, whoever said Google was right, for one thing. But I think that having to go research the stuff and having to go find it, that's what grows your mind. That's what gives you that smartness. That's what gives you that education. I always just tick, 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 AI. I think that, like, you know, what's that movie called? That Idiocracy.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the next, not the next generation, but generation after them, because they're not going to have to ever do anything for themselves. They're going to be really Idiocracyville.
Well, that's, you know, the fact that you brought that up, I think is an incredibly relevant point, because you're right. You and I, we were growing up when computers were coming out, but Google wasn't quite there. We actually had to, like, even for math, I mean, yes, we had calculators and stuff like that, but we couldn't just ask AI or Google. And now we got things like Siri. I mean, gosh, and these things are being connected to AI. But, you know, it comes back down to the principle of what we're talking about. You know, if you don't really understand the secret, if you will, you won't ever internalize it. You know what I mean? And you can, I guess you could put on a show that you know everything, but if you don't understand the secret, how are you going to actually apply it in life and have true success? I think we're going to have a lot of people that leverage this wonderful technology, but if they don't really understand it, how can they actually internalize it, but then actually express it through
Exactly.
action? I don't know. That's a big topic.
It's huge because it's like, I mean, I use AI and all that stuff, but I try to use myself and stuff like that. But it's like, so I will never forget having to go look at those Reddit encyclopedias. They go freaking look up stuff, and it's like nowadays compared to them, like man, like we're just talking about how much stuff is stored on a little chip this big. When a floppy disk was like this big when I was a kid, it was like, and that only held like one paper.
I know. Man, it's wild. Yeah, and Bob Proctor, he even said when he started reading Think and Grow Rich, particularly, he didn't find the secret immediately. He said, but he kept reading that book every single day for literally decades. And he said the secret's really something you experience. It's not even just something you read, you
Mhm.
experience it. And that's true for I think curiosity and really like a deep passion for wanting to grow and become aware of things just in general knowledge is what's going to lead you to that experience, and once you find it, what he's talking about in this particular material, he says, once you find the secret, he says you can literally apply it to everything in life: money, health, relationships, business, personal growth. That's why a lot of the people that studied Think and Go Rich, they became wildly successful in so many different ways. They could have been a movie star, an actor, an athlete. It's not just about making a bunch of money.
Yeah.
A lot of people that study that material ended up building wildly successful companies, and
Mhm.
they because they understood.
Yeah. I mean,
AI is not going to build your company.
fake it till you make it only goes so far.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the programming the subconscious mind is really important because you want to believe you can. But yeah, I mean, man, I've had a lot of moments where I've been studying this material and I've had a lot of breakthroughs, but I'm realizing, like Bob did, you don't arrive. It's a journey. You can get better and better every day, better
Mhm.
and better and better and and I think it's just what you'll realize is when you find the secret, you're going to realize you actually had the key to the locked door the whole entire time. You just needed the awareness to see it. You had it the whole time.
See, like that's perfect example of that. Like, so when I was going through my blood clot and all that stuff, that's
Mm,
doctors, it kills somebody every 33 seconds. I
mm,
really just didn't care. I blew it off.
mhm,
But then I had somebody like my dad's best friend. I watched him talk about mindset. He got MS, and he
mm,
immediately started telling himself he's sick. He's had MS. He has MS. He has MS. And being that we both had the same thing at the same time, not the same like disorder and all that stuff. But I watched him do the opposite of me. Tell himself
mm,
he's sick, and he's dead now. He completely
mm,
went downhill because he sat there and told himself he's sick. And I sat there and said, "Yeah, whatever, dude. I'm going home. Get the hell out of the way." Oh, you need to
mm,
slow down. I'm like, yeah, right. Nope, not doing it.
mm,
So and that's when I noticed that mindset's everything because
mhm,
I watched it. I
mhm.
watch people all the time. It's like it's so easy just to click that, just to change that one little tune.
Yeah, thoughts are things, man. Thoughts actually really impact our reality of the world around us, and you're right. Like, if you think you're gonna die, well, they talk about the ghosts of fear and Think and Go Rich, and specifically when it comes to health, there's the ghost of ill health, and really, the ghost is just thoughts. They're
Mhm.
these things where you're fearing getting sick or fear of dying, and you just start fearing and fearing and fearing, and you're basically becoming a magnet to that end result. And on your side, you chose the polar opposite of that. That's the law of polarity. You said, "Mm-mm, I'm not accepting that."
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I still do it today. Like when I start having chest pains, I might have a clot, but I go, nope, nope. It's a growing pain. I'm not worried about it.
Mm,
It's just because I'm not gonna. And somebody said, what if it's something really bad? I said, look, let me say something. My body, I have trained my body because I have adrenaline disorder too.
mm,
But I've trained myself where okay, a pain I could deal with. My body's not gonna give me a pain that's so bad unless I need to deal with it.
mhm.
Everything's gonna deal with it on its own. And I think that that's what bodies are for. But when you start throwing all this medicine at it, your body's like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Now I got to fight this medicine instead of fighting the right thing.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, and I would say this too, just what you're talking about, getting back to the whole mindset being everything, what I would say is I highly encourage, I know it's like there's a million books you can read out there, but the materials in this book, and I would encourage anybody to commit to reading this book with an open mind and not just read it, but to search for something specific within it for you, because what if just one thing standing between you and everything you've ever wanted is
Mhm.
literally in this book? Would you be willing to find it? And so and Bob, what's nice is Bob read it his whole life, so he can help you search through that a little bit quicker, and collapse time through his living the legacy material that we created. And man, I'll tell you what, when it comes down to just achieving a goal you want, you don't necessarily need to know how, like we said earlier. You just need to know that you're gonna do it. That you will do it. And so, man, it's all about, a lot of times the things that holds more people back than anything is fear. Um, the cause of fear is the ignorance we talked about. And so, like, I think a lot of people, they're like wishy-washy about the decisions, right? So like most people like delay taking action because they feel the need to like build some detailed plan before moving forward. And then if you're like a perfectionist, you're never going to move forward because your plan will never be done. So you'll never take action.
And the whole thing about failure not being an option, it has to be an option.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and not moving forward is like a form of failure. There's no action involved there. So cool
Mhm.
idea. And Bob Proctor and Napoleon Hill both taught that you don't need to know how. You just have to make a firm, committed decision. And once a decision's made, the way will reveal itself. It may not be like instantly, but it will, especially if it's a true decision. And Bob made the decision that he was going to build a company before, not knowing how it would happen. And he focused on that decision, and the resources, the people, and the opportunities came to match his commitment, and it 100% happened. He It seemed ridiculous at the time. And he talks a lot about, I don't know if if you've studied a lot, but he talks a lot about the law of vibration.
Mhm.
When you commit to a decision, your thought frequency rises to match it, attracting the right circumstances. So when you make a decision, you're actually changing your thought frequency as
Yeah.
well.
It's like this, I say, like the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So,
Mhm.
that's how your frequency is going to line up with everything. Because if you do this over here half-ass, you
Mhm.
can't come over here and do this. It doesn't work out. It's like I tell
Mhm.
people, you want to have the this unbreakable mindset, but then you're overweight, you're out of shape, you eat like shit. It's like that
Mhm.
doesn't go together. It just doesn't all. It won't intermingle. You can't have this awesome mindset and have this. You're just out of shape. You're lazy. It doesn't work. It doesn't go together.
No, it doesn't. Well, and when Napoleon Hill was given that 60 seconds by Andrew Carnegie to decide if he was going to dedicate his life to studying these laws of success that produce Think and Go Rich, he had no promise of financial support. He had no clear path, just an idea. And he said yes instantly without hesitation. And like they said, all great achievers make decisions quickly and with faith. But what's funny is the moment that you make a decision, it's like sending a signal to the universe. And
Mm-hmm.
hesitation attracts doubt. Commitment attracts solutions, you know. Um,
100%.
so it's decision's a big one. There's a whole entire chapter just on decision. And man, I'll tell you what, I've learned so much from Bob too about paradigms. Remember how we talked earlier about those deeply rooted beliefs that shape our results? That like mental program that like you talked about eating like shit, and you talked about like wanting to be healthy but eat this way. But like those mental programs are what's stored in our subconscious mind that controls our habits, our thoughts, and our results. So if someone's eating like shit but wanting to work out and get these other results, they're being controlled by a program. They need a paradigm shift. They got to switch the program.
They still used to just going down that straight line, the same pattern. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, and being aware that maybe you're not a bad person, you're not a failure. You just need to understand that you have a program that's running that's causing you to get these results and have these habits. And if you understand it's changeable, you can reprogram that.
Oh,
Most
yeah.
people live their entire lives repeating the same patterns because they operate from an old paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
It can be passed down many generations too. Um,
because they don't want to switch that. They don't. They think that if they switch a little bit, the unknown is something that people fear.
Mhm.
And they, oh, I don't know if I do that, is it going to work out? I don't know. It's working out. You know what? It's okay right now. Well, I don't want to
Mhm.
just be okay. I want to go above okay. I want to be better than okay. You know?
That'd be amazing, yeah. When you said fear is actually one of the strongest paradigms. It's and what's funny about fear, when you're a little baby, you don't really understand what fear is. When you're a little kid, you don't really know what fear is yet. Fear is actually learned. It's not natural.
Yeah.
We learn fear from our environment and the people around, and,
What is
um
fear to you? Tell me, because when I spoke at this event the other night, the two
Mhm.
words were fear and regret. What is fear and regret to you?
I think that fear is it's a program, it's a paradigm that basically will have an impact on your ability to make a decision. I think that fear, like, fear is a thought. It's a thing that actually will most likely put you in a form of indecision. It'll paralyze you. I think there's a healthy place for like fear, like, hey, look both ways before you cross the street. That's different. That's
Yeah, yeah.
that's being
That's
smart.
just having common sense.
Yeah, I think if we're talking about the kind of fear that I think is the biggest and most damaging paradigms people can have, it's something that causes people not to take action. And when they tune into it, they're literally tuning into the exact opposite of what they want to achieve.
What's the worst
Uh,
thing you fear? What's the biggest thing you fear in life?
Man, fear is not just like be not growing, becoming stagnant, not living a life of abundance, like not becoming the best version of myself, not
Mhm.
leaving behind a legacy and not, I have children, so not my biggest fear would be not leaving them with the pattern that I want to be created that will ripple throughout generations. Fear of dying, I'm gonna die someday, it's gonna happen.
I've already done
I
it,
don't
so I'm
got
not scared of that.
Yeah, I mean, hey, do I wanna die today? No, I got work to do, but I'm gonna focus on creating abundance and becoming the best version of myself, but I also wanna help others do that
Hmm.
because I know that it'll impact other people, other families, other generations. So my biggest fear would be just falling into stagnation and really failing in life. And failing in life is not really achieving the goals that are in my heart and in my desire. That would be what I fear.
Yeah, but all right. So with the word regret, do you have any regret, or what do you feel about the word regret?
Oh, plenty of regrets, but when you look at yesterday, you realize that there's a big difference between temporary defeat and permanent failure. So when I look back on the mistakes that I made, I actually realized that those were all opportunities for me to learn and grow. If I could do some things differently, I would, but I believe I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and everything that's led up to this current point in time,
So then you don't have regret then.
no.
Okay, good. Because so basically that's the way I look at it too. That's which is exactly what you just said. So regret
Mm,
to me is like the choices and decisions I made in life. That's what the choice and decision I had at the time. I made it. I did what I did.
right, right,
Now, if I didn't live and learn and grow from that decision I made, then it's regret to me.
correct,
I
yeah,
lived, I learned, I grew. I don't have regret.
and
I
even
mean, if
if you
it was a bad decision, oh well, it was at the time.
and you can't change what you did yesterday, so you have and this is where positive so regret, what's the law of polarity say to regret? What's the opposite of regret? Exactly what we just said.
Yep.
So, if you have something you did or something in your past, it could be something terrible. You go, "I can't change what I did yesterday, but the way that I look at it, I can change." Even if I've been in regret for the last year of my life or decade, I can change that today. I can change how I look at it today because
Hmm.
today is all I got. Tomorrow's a brand new day, and when I look at it differently, the world will change for me and what's
I wish I
happening.
knew somebody would regret that dude Bryson of UFC that freaking said something about Hitler.
Mhm.
Did you see
Yeah.
that? Did you see what he said?
Uh-uh.
He said he didn't think Hitler was a bad guy.
Oh,
Before, but he said before he got on the drugs and before he did what he did, I don't think I think he was a good guy. I'm like, yeah, I think he is
interesting.
getting.
Yeah, well, those are interesting things. What I have learned to do with my thinking is try to look, recognize call it evil or wrong for what it is, but at the same time, I try to look at things through a lens to go, how can I how can I serve this situation? How can I be part of the solution? How can I What's the opportunity? Because in Napoleon Hill's book, he says, with every adversity is a seed of equal or greater opportunity. What does that mean? If there's an adversity, that can come in a lot of different forms, but he's stating
Mhm.
that there's an equal or greater opportunity. That could be a bad thing that happened in your life. It could be a health challenge, financial challenge, relationship challenge, maybe an adversity in someone you love's life. But if it's true that there's an equal or greater opportunity, what does that mean? You're going to look for a progress. You're tuning into the universe saying, where can we go from here? Instead of, let me just wallow in my sulk in my
Yeah.
life and just like, and die. Like, literally, like you said, your other guy that talked about it, I'm sick, I'm gonna die. That's all fear-based thinking.
On that topic, I got all right, quick question for you. Okay,
Yeah.
so even though let's say you get in a wreck right now today,
Yeah.
right? I don't want to put that on
Sure.
you,
Yeah.
and it wasn't your fault.
Yeah.
I look at it where I did something that caused this to
Mm,
happen.
mm,
Like I got maybe it wasn't none of it my fault, but what did I do prior to
mm,
this to cause me to get to this point to get in this
mhm,
wreck? So I feel like that everything like I'm almost at a point where if I get up out of this chair right here and I go that way and I go around to the right instead of to the left, I think that could change my entire life, my entire roadmap to life.
mhm, mhm. I you know, Speaking of things happening and sometimes maybe not so good things like a wreck, right? I think that's where that thing comes up where someone looks at that as like, this isn't a great day because nobody wants to get in a wreck today. But if I look at this as something where it was a part of the plan, what is the opportunity? The equal or greater opportunity. And so I think that when I look at it that way, the left turn would be a bad idea, and the right turn is a, maybe I was supposed to meet this person that ran into me. I don't know what I was. Maybe this was going to distract me from. There's a million different ways you can look at it. It's a very interesting
Hmm.
mindset to have, but what it is, it's an abundant mindset, is what it is, because you can
Yeah.
literally grow. And some of the most successful people in the world have been through so many adversities. They've gone broke, they've been homeless, they've gone bankrupt, but they learned from it, and that's what allowed them to become so successful. A lot of people who play it safe in life, they're just trying to avoid the adversities. They're going to have them anyways, but they're just trying to keep it safe. They don't want to fail. Oh, I don't want to fail. Think about when you're 3.
But when it happens to those people, those are the type of people that break hard
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because they've been avoiding it for
Well,
so long.
we're gonna have adversities in life. There's no way around it. It's gonna happen. So the question is, how you gonna deal with it when you do hit it? And if you develop a muscle towards that, it's gonna change your life so much. And think about it. Every one of us who's walking, if you don't have some sort of, genetic thing that didn't allow you to walk, how many times did each of us fall on our face, our butt, whatever? I actually knew a guy. I didn't know him personally. I knew a guy who was a stay-at-home dad, stayed with his kid. He had a journal and he literally recorded every single fall his little kid had until he started walking. It was over 3,000 falls that the kid had in order to get to the point of being able to walk without falling. We all been through that. We all
Jeez.
did that at some point in our life, and the question is what made us become afraid of falling? We didn't wanna fall anymore. We got tired of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just get tired of freaking that pain of hurting.
Well, but that's where the growth came. And you know what? When you were young like that, you weren't worried about the fall. You just wanted to walk. That's all you wanted. I wanna get
Yeah.
on 2 feet like him over there, you know?
It's like somebody's throwing a ball at you over and over and over and hitting you. You gotta get out the way.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, and you think about it, fear is what stops us. So fear comes from ignorance. So if we don't understand something, we typically fear it. Like if you go swimming in the ocean and you're like, oh my gosh, there's sharks and stuff in here. If I don't understand something, we typically fear it, you know? And
Yeah.
understanding leads to faith. And I'm not just talking about like religious faith, but I'm talking about it's the opposite of fear.
Yeah.
Um, and I think faith is literally the thing that eliminates fear. So when we understand how success works, we don't feel failure anymore. We're not afraid to fail because we know that that's how success works.
Mhm. Yep.
And here's the thing, if you're afraid to take action, it's not because you can't. It's because you don't understand what's possible for you. That's literally what it really comes down to. Um,
The unknown.
yeah, it's like, oh man, what happens if I What happens if I don't? It's like, no, what happens when you do fail and you do it 20 times and then you finally figure it out? You're going to have the result you want. That's how success works. And every fear has an opposite. For example, the opposite of fear is faith. The opposite of doubt is confidence. The opposite of scarcity is abundance. The opposite of
Mhm.
failure is success. So fear and faith both require you to believe something. We're believing something and something you cannot see.
Yep.
So why don't we just choose faith?
Sometimes like that's what I say. Like, okay, so when it comes to faith and stuff
Mm,
like that, you're pretty much you're believing something that you don't even know exists. So it's
mm.
like, so when you think about success, it's like you just said, you don't even know if that success exists for
Why
you,
not?
but you're gonna go for it. If you're gonna go for faith and you're believing something and living your life by something you don't even know exists, only because a book told you.
Mhm,
Well, a book tells you success is there.
mhm.
It can happen. So why aren't you doing it?
Exactly. And, going back to what we started on, Bob Proctor in somewhere in the series, he says, "Your spiritual DNA is perfect, so any belief that you're not good enough is just a false paradigm." That's all it is. It's a lie. And if there's a problem, the solution must exist because of polarity. The law of polarity means that there's a solution, and everything has an opposite. So you just have to shift your focus. Like you said, I have 2 choices. I'm the director of my movie. I can believe that the end outcome of my life is failure. I can believe I'm the hero. Which one do you wanna choose? You pick, because 'cause
Mhm.
you're gonna get what you choose.
You're the controller of you.
Yeah, it's, man, and that's where it starts coming into questions. Because Bob always used to ask people, "What do you want? What do you want? What's your goal? Like, what do you actually want in life? Why don't you go for it? Like, why don't you get it?" It's like, what's one goal you've been holding back on because you don't know how it will happen? And if like there's that old saying, if you weren't afraid of failure, what would you attempt?
Yeah, exactly.
Fear is, dude, all it is, it's just a habit. It's a bad habit of thought. Bad
Mhm.
habit, very bad habit. And the only way you
I wonder how many kids said that they want to be president after these past 10 years. They're like, oh no, 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 I don't want to be
Yeah.
president.
No, it's funny. Well, and speaking of the thing, going back on it, the fear of habit, the only way to break a bad habit is just do the opposite. So, a way if you have a lot of fear problems, the way you break it is just do the thing you're afraid of. Just do it. There's your
Mhm.
Nike slogan, "Just do it." Just do the thing you're afraid of.
Yep,
Literally just do it, you know? You already
that's how you get over fear.
Yeah, that's how you kill it.
Once you know it's not going to hurt you, you got it. It's like when I used to have horses and stuff.
Mhm,
Like the way to get the spook out of them is they tie them to a pole. People are going to think this is crazy and it's
mhm.
mean, but they tie them to a post and they throw firecrackers at them. Yeah, these horses go crazy, but once they notice that
They're
it's not going to hurt them, they stop because we riding a horse and all of a sudden some little noise scares the crap out of them and they start running. Now your life is in their hands.
Mhm,
So yeah, it's crazy to do that, but they overcame that
mhm.
fear. If you don't do it for them, the horse can't overcome their fear by itself.
Absolutely. And that's the whole thing is we already have the power within us. We just need to shift into it. And man, fear is the thing that stops us from doing anything. It's the brakes, but it's this programmer running in our head. And I bet you and I could probably find some things that we're afraid of that we probably need to do. And that's a personal thing for each of us. It's like, what am I not doing? Because
I mean, I hate snakes. Look, I hate snakes. I've held
yeah,
snakes. I don't. I mean, all that stuff. I just hate it. I don't care.
I
I
don't like
hate a
snakes
snake.
either.
I don't fear them. I don't fear them. I just don't like
Well,
them.
and what are the snakes of someone's life? Like, what is the one thing where you're like, "Man, I really wanna have this outcome," but, like, there's a snake, and you're like, "I ain't touching that snake. Heck no." You know?
I'm not. I don't want none of that anaconda. I don't want none.
Nah. Yeah, man, it's well, when you realize that if you really wanna start shifting, if you really wanna start if people wanna really start shifting their life, they just gotta start embracing like that three-year-old who fell and fell and fell and fell and fell. You just gotta fall more every day. You gotta
Mhm.
fail more,
You got to do it.
fail. Just like, not, don't be necessarily careless about it, but like embrace,
Mhm.
you know, embrace the fact that it's that belief system. So, um
You gotta get off their lazy
I
asses.
know, right? I mean,
Get off the couch and go.
I mean,
That's what I tell people. I was like, look, just sitting there boo-hooing yourself, it's not gonna get you anywhere.
yeah,
It sucked. Shit, your shit you went through, it sucked. Yeah, it sucked. Yeah, we all go through stuff that
yeah,
sucks. Life is never. Nobody ever said life is gonna be
yeah.
easy. So know that in your mind and keep pushing. Just keep every day, because the longer you just sit there, the harder it's gonna be.
Well, and don't forget that those experiences you went through, again, I said it earlier, but temporary defeat is a big difference between that and permanent failure. So a lot of times people
Mhm.
look at their experience or their setback they had as, woe is me. But a lot of people who hit rock bottom or they have these terrible experiences don't realize that maybe those things were happening so that you could help others after you've grown, help them get through it, and no one would understand them more than you. And that's where a lot of these adversities turn into opportunities, you know,
Yep.
you know?
That's why when I gave my talk the other night, I was like, I was the last one. It was I didn't want to speak until like freaking 11 o'clock at night because everybody kept running late, and I kept watching and watching and watching, and they're just their stories, and I'm like, I'm changing what I've got to say.
Mm,
And basically, I just it's you. Everybody goes through shit in life,
mhm,
yes, but if you're stumbling because there's something you're going through, just think about you went through the hard. You've already been through the hardest time in life.
mhm,
You've already gone through the story, the crazy thing you went through, the crazy I went through, the crazy thing with you.
mm.
Now you can think about that. Say, I went through all that shit, and I'm gonna let this slow me down and break me. No,
It made you stronger,
you got to think like that. You start thinking like that, you're like, huh, this is that. Why haven't I been thinking like that?
man. And when you look back on some of the trying experiences maybe you've had and you realize that you're still here and you realize, man, I'm still here. I'm on 2 feet. I'm still here. And you're like, wow. Man, and sometimes you look back at what you thought when you were going through, and you're like, "This is no good. This is no good. This is nothing." But, it's really interesting, but when you look at it through that lens, and then, you start to realize that there is something to be it's all about growth. I think that that's the idea behind even thinking grow rich. A lot of people hear the word rich and they're like, "Oh, it's just about money." No, it's actually about the idea of living a rich life. It's the idea about
Mm-hmm.
being rich in your mindset, being rich in your health, being rich in your relationships, being rich
And
in
abundance.
abundance. And you know what? That material that Napoleon Hill went through really is all about getting into the deep end of that subject where a lot of people spend most of their life in the shallow end. They really don't understand how this material works. So all they got to
Mm-hmm.
do is just start diving into the material and looking for the secret, like we talked about earlier. And also, the beautiful part about it is we also have incredible mentors, people like Bob Proctor. We can stand on the shoulders of giants. Like I have not spent 60 plus years of my life studying Think and Go Rich, but I can sit back and listen to Bob and just go, boom, he just dropped a bomb. And I'm like, that those things can change your life, you know?
That's just what you just said. Like, don't try to remake the wheel.
Hmm.
Somebody's already gone through all this
Hmm.
crap. Why do you want to go through the same crap? I used to tell my employees that. I'm like, look, dude,
Hmm.
every time I show you a way to do it, it's because I already went through the crappy ways to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you the easiest, the fastest way to do it.
Mhm.
So you can sit here and try to waste all your time to figure out how to do it. But why would you want to do that?
Learn from my mistakes and my
Yes.
and my suc
Don't do the same mistakes.
yeah, and learn from my successes. And wisdom is very important. It's very, very. I'm a big believer in having mentors. Like even though I'm well studied in this stuff, man,
Hmm.
there's still so much to discover. And I heard somebody say, I think it was Sharon Lechter. She was in our movie, but she worked with the Napoleon Hill Foundation, and she co-authored many books. She actually did one that was another Napoleon Hill book called Think and Grow Rich, or Outwitting the Devil, and then Think and Grow Rich for Women. She made this statement. I was at an event, and she was there, and she said, "There is no other person on this planet that is a combination of all your successes and all of your trials, lessons." And she called the trials lessons. So she goes, "You are the only version of a person on this planet that's had all of your successes and all of your lessons." And that makes you a very valuable person. Even if you've had some hard things happen in your life, you you've probably learned a lot of the wrong things to do as well, how not to do it. Kind of like you were saying when you were teaching your employees, I already know how not to do it. I already figured that out. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
That's like that's what kills me lately. It's like, and I gotta catch myself and not do it because I'm sitting here trying to do all this stuff to build the new
Mhm.
business, and I'm doing all these things and I'm learning these things to do it once. And I'm like, no, I'm not else to do it because I'm not gonna sit here and spend 2 or 3 weeks how to do this to do it one time. No,
Mhm.
but
My brother, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. My brother used to say he's a contract and he does a lot of carpentry work, and he's capable of using all kinds of tools. And he told me, he goes, there's been times where I did the work myself for something else I'm not an expert at. He goes, what I found in the long distance was it ended up taking me twice as long to do it and probably didn't do it as well. And he goes, I could have just focused on what I'm an expert at and hired somebody else who's an expert at that and probably made more money doing what I'm already good at.
exactly, because it's like that's exactly the same thing. So if I'm gonna take 2 hours of my time to cut the grass,
Hmm.
how much is my time? How much is my time worth to me? I could pay somebody $30.
That's right.
I'm paying somebody $30.
I am a big believer in that. Some people, I think their paradigm or their program they're running on says, um, well, I don't want to spend the $30, and they go, I can do it. I'm a hard worker. I need to do the work. But you're like, but what are you not doing in exchange for that work is my other question. Like what so you're probably just people that they don't direct their energy very well is they're not very certain on the decision that they've made in their life. So they're kind of just bouncing around, just staying busy. But if you know exactly what you want and you know exactly how you want it to look and you get your thoughts and you commit to that decision, you're going to make sure that all your actions and all of your investments, your money, your time, your energy is going to go towards that happening.
Yep.
That's not cutting I'm not cutting the grass. I'm hiring somebody to cut the grass. I'm not gonna do a DIY home project that takes me 2 weeks to save $500.
Yeah, backache. And
Yeah, and I
look,
might even
that's
do it
coming from me.
myself.
I used to own a landscaping company. I owned a home and garden center, and I
Nah.
never thought I'd say I'm gonna pay somebody to cut my grass. I, I can't wait. I love it. It's great.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's so funny. That's a paradigm shift, though. See, that's funny because someone normally that would come from your background could not stand paying someone to cut their grass because like, oh, I already know how to do it. I'm the best at it. But it's like, but one thing I've learned is I have a finite amount of time and energy personally. So I look at every minute, everything that I do as an investment.
Hmm.
What am I investing in? Does it actually align with my greater purpose, my chief aim? And if it doesn't, you start to go, well, why am I doing it? Well, that's an interesting thing. So this is where this Napoleon Hill stuff and Bob Proctor stuff really starts to get people because they go, man, do I even? A lot of people they haven't really sat down and asked themselves, what do I really want? What do I really want? And then after you figure out what you want, you have to make a decision about it. Because if you don't make a decision, just wanting something, could you imagine this? Okay, you're in the middle of a forest, you're on a big hike, there's no getting back, it's starting to get real cold, and all of a sudden you desire to have a fire. Well, just wanting the fire is not going to make it appear. I don't care how many affirmations you say. You're going to have to go gather some twigs. You're going to have to build that dang fire, and you're going to have to tend to it. And I think that's what making a dream come a reality is a lot like, is you have to do something about it, make a decision about it. So I would say, even anybody listening, if you ever had a dream that you gave up on, now would be the time to bring it back to life. Because yesterday, like Michael asked earlier if I've ever had any regrets. Yesterday's gone, but you can make a decision literally right now. This is what you have. So why not, bring that dream back to life? And it Napoleon Hill and Bob Proctor both prove that success is never about luck. It's not about luck. It's about making a decision, shifting your paradigm and stepping into that higher frequency, which is the thoughts that you have related to that decision. And so no more waiting for the right time. Never going to be the right time. The right time is always now.
Yep.
You know?
But I see like a lot of people like you're talking about make a decision. Well, it's like let's say you're trying to like you want to change careers, you want to make money or whatever.
Hmm.
I think the biggest thing today, the problem is these everybody sees these, oh, this shiny thing here. Oh no, it's here. Oh no, it's here.
Yeah.
Stop going to these. It's gonna be, oh, you just gotta do this. You'll be make so much money. Look, pick a lane and do it. Because
Hmm.
you keep going here, there, there. You look, instead of being okay at 10 things, be great at one.
Hmm. Yeah, and make sure that it's in alignment with you too, because you really this material, Think and Grow Rich, will talk about it, but you want to have a burning desire. So your decision usually is related to, like, have you ever really wanted something so bad that you're like, I don't know, nobody is stopping me from getting it. I am
Mhm.
that when you get to that point where you have a burning desire, and if you don't have it, you can cultivate it. Just like that fire I was talking about, it's not going to just appear out of nowhere, but like a burning desire is the gas in the tank for you to get where you're going. If you don't have a burning desire, you're never going to persevere. You're not going to follow through, but you have to really understand yourself and understand, like, what do I want? But then you can emotionally attach yourself to that want, and you can actually start to put it into a crystallized form. So they talk a lot about using your imagination to envision what you actually really want. Like, make it as real as you can. What does it smell like, taste like, look like?
Mhm.
And then it starts to become something that you almost feel like you already have. So we can have you can this success stuff, that whole entire Think and Grow Rich book, he figured out all of the reasons for success, also the reasons for failure. If you go into the one section where it has the 30 reasons for failure, he interviewed over 5,000 people, and he figured out the 30 common aspects of people that failed. And failure wasn't just they screwed up at a job. Failure was they reached the end of life without achieving their goal.
Yeah,
And he found 30 reasons for failure. And when you start to read through that list, you're like, whew, I got to be careful here. I need to understand this and become aware. I do not, who wants to reach the end of life and have failed, if you will? That's regret.
yeah, big time. And then now it's too late. Now you can't live and learn. Now you can't learn and grow from it because you're at the
Yeah.
end of the road.
Yeah. So the time is always now, and you can have it, and that means you're not missing anything. You don't need to become someone else to succeed either. A lot of people think, oh, I wish I was this, or I wish I had money. I wish that. Like Bob said, your spiritual DNA is perfect. You already have everything you need inside you. Everything you need to be, do, or have is already within you. The only thing standing between you and success is awareness. And once you see your potential clearly, nothing can stop you. And Bob Proctor, he went from being in massive debt and uncertainty to millions simply just by realizing that success wasn't about adding something new. It was actually about removing the limiting paradigms. That's all it was about.
Yeah, definitely. I know that. What was I about to say just now? What was I about to say? I don't
It's
even know.
gonna come to you. It's in there. It's floating around the
All right,
subconscious.
so, we can go on all day. We can go on all night with this.
I
How can
know.
let people know how can they get in touch with you? How can you get the book, see the movie, do the
Yeah. Yeah. So keep an eye out. We're going to be launching next week. I don't have a link for it yet. We're about to go live probably this afternoon. We're going to be doing something called Living the Legacy Weekly, which will feel probably really similar to this. The only difference is we're going to be bringing in top thought leaders,
Mhm.
people like that are in our film, people that are like Bob Proctor, and we're going to have a different thought leader every week. I'm going to actually be interviewing him, and we're going to be talking about this material that we just talked about today with Michael. And so what's really cool about it is it's going to be something somebody could come to and experience this material. So what I would suggest for anybody is if they want to watch Think and Grow Rich, the movie, that'll really get you a good start. You probably are going to want to find yourself getting a copy of that book and wanting to start diving in, looking for the secret, because you're going to find it if you look for it. But I would get a copy of your Think and Grow Rich book. You can go to takeactionmovie.com and check out the movie. There's also the Live in the Legacy material with Bob Proctor, which is over 6 hours of material that's like probably 100 times more potent than what we just talked about.
So with the little bit I watched so far was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what, there are things that he has said in that material. just so you understand, it's not just a video you're going to pull up on YouTube. This is a cinematic great experience. There's moving stills, there's music. Even Bob's family said that this is the best material Bob was ever a part of in his entire life. And so our company Limitless owns the intellectual property for Living the Legacy with Bob Proctor. That's why we're going to start doing weekly calls literally starting next week. We're going to have an entire curriculum that's built around not only the material, but the calls as well. So you can really, really not just, it's not like watching a movie where it just goes in one ear and out the other. It's something that you really get deep with. And so anyways, you can find me. I'm sure Michael and I will be doing a lot together. Limitless, Living the Legacy weekly. But I would say get your start with Think and Grow Rich, the movie. You can find that at takeactionmovie.com, and that'll get you in our system. But I would just say,
where can anybody, sorry to interrupt you, where can anybody's amazing shirts and hats?
Well, when you join Limitless, so Limitless, there is something called Limitless Inner Circle, and you can go to limitlessinnercircle.com. It is a program that we launched this year in 2025, and it allows you actually to leverage our entire business. So what it allows you to do is we actually built out the workflows. We built out the entire infrastructure of the business, the text message sequences, the emails. We're actually giving you our movie, our intellectual property, Living the Legacy with Bob Proctor, on an entire platform that allows you to monetize the product. You actually keep 80% of the proceeds. You actually do receive the money when people transact, but we've got the whole entire business built. And there's an affiliate program that for Limitless Inner Circle. So we're going to build we're building a movement around this material, guys. It's not just, hey, let's make a movie about Think and Grow Rich. We're actually, our goal is to change the world through education, entertainment, and personal development, and also marketing. And just to even speak on something to you, Michael, we run into a lot of people that are coaches and they're in the process of building their business. You can really get hung up big time in the actual structure of the business. Like, what software do I use? What technology do I use? What product do I use? What workflow? A million other questions, a million other services. Inside a Limitless Inner Circle, we have all the technology. Somebody can literally build their brand off of our material, Think and Grow Rich, the movie, Living a Legacy, and they can monetize it, but they can also acquire leads and stuff into their business for, if let's say you're a coach, they can convert into a coaching client. So Limitless Inner Circle, we're really trying to design something that'll allow people to really just become the best versions of themselves. But I'll tell you what, man, being a coach, I have interviewed probably at least a couple dozen in the last couple of months, coaches that are in the process and they're really struggling to build the business and have it become profitable. That's why we built what we did, is so people can immediately start earning an income. Because let's be real, we all need cash flow. So that's the story with Limitless Inner Circle, and anything I would say, anybody who's in your fan base and for Platinum Mindset TV, I'd like to collaborate. I would say just reach out to Michael if you're interested in working with us at Limitless.
I'm gonna put it on when I post the recording. I'll put it on. It's all gonna be on there again like the before it was.
Yeah, and I'd rather you come through Michael, because Michael and I will have an arrangement, because I'm a senior producer with Limitless, and there's a lot we can do together, guys. So and what you'd heard today, just a tip of the iceberg on what we're doing really behind the scenes.
We're gonna have you on here some more. We're gonna get into it a little deeper too.
Absolutely.
All right, it was great having you on today. Until next time, everybody. This is Emerson.
All right, guys. We'll see you later.
Talk to you later, bro.
Cheers.